Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. I'm Judy Simpson. As always, on the fourth Wednesday of the month, I'm joined by Mark LaBarr, conservation biologist for Audubon, Vermont. And today we have a special guest, Owen LaBarr. It's nice to see you both.
Nice to be here.
Thanks for having us on the show.
So we're going to talk about a project that Owen participated in. So why don't you tell us about what that project was?
Well, at my school, Mount Abe, there is a project called the Middle School Challenge, and it allows students in 8th grade to participate and explore in independent learning of topics that interest them. And so they go out and they meet with advisors and mentors and stuff like that, and they have these fun experiences, and then at the end of the month they present this topic to.
So what was your project?
I personally did wildlife videography, and I chose this because it interested me. And I had great resources with the Audubon in my backyard and having a camera lent to me by WCAX. And I want to learn a little bit more about the technology part of it. And so, yes.
And the camera actually was the UVM extension service.
Yes.
WCAX is, of course, awesome for hosting Across the Fence all these years. But
So tell us a little bit exactly about what you did and how long it took you.
How long it took? Well, I got the camera, thanks to you guys, and I went out and I got some great footage of all the birds and wildlife and my father.
Which is sometimes considered wildlife. I think he puts it in that category.
And so I went out and I got this good footage, and then I edited it all up and put it into a video.
Nice. Well, let's see what you did. I think we're going to start with the bird feeders.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it was very cold when I first started, and it was, as you can see. And so there wasn't much activity around the nature center. And so I decided to head up to the office, and they have a whole bunch of bird feeders, and each bird feeder is specific to each kind of birds. And so we got a great variety of birds. Well, not that. A good number of.
A good variety. Yes. We were lucky. We were lucky. It was funny because I was, of course, working in the office at the time, nice and warm inside, and Owen had to be outside, and so he made frequent visits to my office to get out of the cold.
Well, that's part of being a nature photographer, I suppose.
Yes, yes.
And talk a little bit about that. Your mentor, and some of the things that you learned as far as what you need to be a videographer.
Yes, the main thing is patience. Lots and lots and lots of patience, which for a 14-year-old is a little tough. But yes, it took some time to get the good footage, and then there's always the bad footage, and you got to cut and paste that out. And
so did you shoot more than birds?
I did shoot more than birds. Although you could consider my dad a bird, I got some good footage of.
Wow, Dad.
I know.
I got some good footage of the sugar house and the experience with that, and so here's the sugar house.
And this is, of course, right in our backyard. And I was really fortunate this year in that I've been around the sugar house for all my time in Audubon, but I've never gotten the opportunity to boil.
Really?
So
one of his bucket list.
A bucket list item. So Owen was up in the sugar house with me one time and was able to capture some of this footage. And
he had something in his mouth. I don't know what it was.
I don't know. You do see me sitting there. It's always funny when you see yourself on TV. I'm chewing on something or.
Well, I've noticed that whenever I visit sugar houses, there's always at least some food around because you're there for a while.
Yeah.
Yes, we had some barbecues.
And there in that scene, I was actually checking the, the syrup for, whether it's syrup. But there's all different facets of it. The sugar house is, of course, steamy.
Very steamy. It's nice and cozy and warm in there once it gets going.
Not great for shooting sometimes if your camera's cold.
True. That is correct. That is correct.
Actually, in this sugar house, the tough part wasn't so much the cold. It was nice and warm. Was the dripping condensation that was coming off of the ceiling of the sugar house.
You get a little drizzled here and there.
And of course, the final product is the maple syrup. So that was really good.
Yeah. All right. So Owen, did you visit any other locations at the center?
I did. We went out, and I had a friend help me with this one, but we visited the ponds, the Beaver Pond, and we got some good footage of the geese, Canada geese there. And so there's...
Actually, you know what? When we were, before the geese, we were outside, and this is kind of a funny story, because, the geese are here. Oh, now the geese are gone. But we did get out to the pond to see the geese. Go ahead with that.
Yeah, we got out to the pond, and it was raining constantly, and it seemed that every time it stopped, we would get out after charging the battery, and we would go out, and I would go out with my friend, and it would start raining again. So there was a constant, he was my umbrella man, and so he walked around and held the umbrella over the camera. But
you did get some nice images of the geese on the pond, and that was really good. They were nice, easy to photograph.
Yes, yes.
And they didn't seem bothered that you were there.
No, well, yeah. They weren't very bothered. They were minding their own business.
Ironically, we have the geese on the pond, and there's a piece here too where Owen tries to capture some mallards. The problem with geese sometimes is they get on the pond and they'll actually, they can be rather aggressive, and they'll actually force a lot of the, the other waterfowl or other things that are out there, and they'll actually come and swim right at you.
Really?
Some of the males, especially when the female is on her nest.
We had some of that.
Yeah, so they'll come right out and they'll chase you. So, but it made it easy for Owen to set up his camera and get that stuff
There was
done.
one time though where I showed up to the pond with my friend, and I spotted some mallards, and of course the geese being aggressive had scared them off, and so they were swimming away, and I only got a little bit of time to pull out the camera, and I didn't have enough time to set up the tripod, so there was some footage of that there, but it's a little shaky.
And so how many times did you go to the pond to get these images?
I went a couple times one night, and then I came back the next morning and I tried to find some stuff there, but there wasn't much. It's off and on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, your mentor Mark Paul was saying, how long does it take him to get some of his shots?
He said it takes hours to days to months to get a 5-second clip but he has some great footage.
Yeah, and when nowadays you go on TV and you see all this great video stuff and filming of wildlife, you really do forget that these folks have spent hours and hours, again, out there in the blinds just to capture those few seconds. And sometimes I think young folks growing up, expect to go out in the woods, and sometimes it's a challenge because they don't necessarily, there's like, well, where's the wildlife?
Yes.
On TV, you just walk out there and it's all
everywhere.
in front of you. So, sometimes you come up a little bit short with that.
So it takes longer than you probably thought.
It did take a lot longer than I probably thought, especially for some of the animals.
Yeah.
All right, now you had a chance to video some other wildlife as well.
Yes, we had some robins, and we have a funny story about the robins. So while we were sugaring, I walked out, and there was about 20 robins out in the field, and so I went down, I got the camera, I set it all up, and my sister and my dad were in the sugar house, and I turned around and I said, could you guys please be quiet? I'm gonna videotape, and of course May jumps out in front and yells "ta-da" right in front of the camera, and all the robins go up as their hands go up.
That's funny.
So he didn't get as many.
I didn't get as many robins.
All I heard from in the sugar house was May, and as we know, May has been on the show a couple of times too. So. Owen's getting his chance this time around.
But they're again a good example of you're trying to get the shot and something happens.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, what else did you take some pictures of?
I got some pictures of some frogs.
Okay.
And some wood frogs, and it was mating season, so we went to the Beaver Pond for this one, and it almost looked like the water was boiling because all the frogs were just moving around. The males were trying to grasp onto the females, and so it was definitely a madhouse down there.
Yeah, the Beaver Pond, as you can see here, is just a shallow pond, so it acts as kind of a vernal pool,
right?
Which is a wetland that doesn't have basically fish in it. So frogs will come down, and this would have been March when the wood frogs actually moved down into the pond. And you can see here, as Owen said, the water was just kind of boiling with the males basically trying to mate with the females. And so they were,
very active.
They were very active, very loud. And here's a good shot. This must be a very complacent wood frog here. He's staying out of the mix.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting. Did you learn a lot more about wildlife than you knew from shooting these things?
Well, I've been around Pops over here for a while, and so he's taught me a lot about everything. And I think I've taken nature for granted, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I guess it did open my eyes a little bit to all the nature around me, but I wouldn't say I learned too much about nature.
Yeah. I think that, the funny thing is Owen, and we have I think he has some footage of me doing some bird banding here too. I used to drag him out in the woods all the time, and Owen was the kid that had to have the ball, had to have the frisbee, had to be running around in the woods while I was banding and stuff like that. So again, he's been around it a lot. So hopefully some of it has snuck in.
And so here's my dad again, with a song sparrow he has banded, and he's measuring the wings. And then we have some chickadees, and then after you have banded the bird and done all your stuff, you got to let it go.
Yep.
So my sister and my father helped me out with that one.
So tell me a little bit about what the reaction has been, because you've shown this obviously to your classmates and your teachers and so forth. What do they say about this?
They liked it. I mean, it was very hard to get up there and present, as it is right now. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and I had a lot of people help me out. And I'm very thankful for you, Judy, for having me on the show.
Sure. And
Will Michael and Rebecca Gollin for the footage and the editing. And I think it just taught me, the main topic I got out of this was the patience part about it. And I learned a little bit about the technology and how to edit and stuff like that. But I had a great time doing it, and it was really fun.
How about your assistants? You had a couple of assistants.
I had my good friend Will Revell come out, and he helped me. He was my umbrella man. And then I had my sister, who's been on the show twice, and she helped me through this process as well.
You know what I like about it is you can see it through the seasons. It starts with snowy and then you transition into spring. I really like that.
Right. And had we had a little bit more time, of course now with all the things coming back and it being spring and birds moving around, we could have captured some other stuff. But at least we captured a little bit of the spring, or Owen did.
Yes.
And he was diligent about it and did a great job, and it was well received last night when he did his presentation.
It's a lot of work. I mean, how many months did you work on this?
I think it was 2 to 3 months that we had time. We had the whole period, and I mean, part of that is actually getting your brain to kick in and tell you to get your butt moving. So, I guess a good 2 months on that. So.
Good lesson.
Yes, a good lesson. Yes.
No, you wanted to mention the birdathon. That's
right, and I just wanted to let viewers know that it's May. It's our birdathon season. It's a fundraiser for Audubon, and if folks are looking to support me in the birdathon, we see about 80 species. They can sponsor me by species, so 25 cents a species is about $20, or they can just sponsor me on a flat rate, and that goes to support the Audubon, the center, and a lot of the work that I do, conservation work that I do around the state with birds.
We've got about a minute left. I know you have one quick question.
I do. Let me find it here. This is a question. Unfortunately, this is from Jane Martell of Enosburg Falls, and it seems like every spring they must have a problem with grackles. She writes, I saw you on Across the Fence and thought of a bird problem that I hope you can answer. In the spring, we are overrun with blackbirds with blue heads. Again, these are grackles. I won't use the word that he used, but defecate would be a nicer word.
Okay.
All over a pool, deck, roof, and driveway. They get the pool really good. It sounds like she has a problem, and for some reason it sounds like she put out They cut trees down and stuff like that. She thought it would help, but no, it didn't help. And I don't know why. It seems that the grackles, they do migrate through and come through, and they, for some reason, must love Enosburg Falls. Fortunately for her, they do move on and go away in the summertime, so it's only that brief period. But tough one to kind of solve that problem if it seems to be on their flight path.
Alrighty. Well, if you have a bird-related question, you can pass it along to Mark. You can write to him at Audubon, Vermont, 255 Sherman Hollow Road in Huntington. The zip code is 05462. You can also email your questions to Mark. His address is mlabarr@audubon.org. Send him the questions, and he'll try to find the answers, or maybe ask Owen for some help.
That's true. We can do that.
It was great to have you here, and good luck with your
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That's our program for today. I'll see you again next time on Across the Fence.
For a video copy of today's program, call toll-free 1-888-ATF-3430. Across the Fence is brought to you as a public service by University of Vermont Extension and WCAX-TV.